In this video, we're going to be spending a couple days together in my kitchen, just getting things done from sweet to savory, and of course a touch of motherhood in there. So starting off, I have my sourdough starter here that is fed. Honestly, it stays pretty strong as long as I feed it twice a week. I know there are a lot of people out there who feed it every single day, but I don't need that much bread. So I find that 2 days or twice a week is really plenty. And then I use this Danish whisk to get my bread going. I also use this for everything. This is such an easy whisk to clean, and that's why I love it. So I really use this often. And I used to start out doing my sourdough bread with all einkorn flour, which is an ancient grain, and it is actually very hard to work with. And since then, I've gotten more used to cooking with sourdough, and I've realized how much easier a red hard wheat is. So I often will mix einkorn and a organic unbleached all-purpose from like a bulk store like Kirkland. As long as it's organic, unbleached, I feel like it's okay. But today I'm actually mixing it with this sprouted spelt flour, and this sprouted spelt flour is something I started baking with when we got married, and I've been using it ever since. Now, I'm not making a full loaf with the spelt because it is a bit dense when I do that, so I'm just kind of mixing it, I would say about 30-70%, flour mixture there. And because I'm using spelt, I'm adding in a little bit of olive oil. This just makes it so much easier to work with. It also creates like a softer crust, and I've just enjoyed adding in just a tablespoon or two to my bread dough. Not always, but when I'm using spelt. After I wash my hands, I set my bread aside to rest for about 30 minutes. And in that time, I just want to share these baby feet with you because are they not the sweetest little things? I love these Barefoot Dream socks that were a gift. They are so soft, and he hates wearing socks. I think most babies do, so he usually doesn't wear them, but I'll put them on just to go outside because it is still a little bit chilly out. We have had a couple warm days here in February, which has been such a nice break, but either way, you can see me kind of gently scooting my cats aside because they always want to come inside the chicken coop, and I do not trust them. So our egg production is slowly starting to pick back up again. I did order quite a few more chicks for spring, but we just got a couple eggs this morning. I'll probably have another couple this afternoon. After the baby was nursed, I got him rocked and put down to sleep. He's a very short napper, but I got started on finishing up my bread while I had the time. I'm doing some stretch and folds here, and I've seen stretch and folds done so many different variations. This is just how I do it. I keep it in the bowl, and I'm just not really finicky about my sourdough. I'm not going for perfection, but it usually is really delicious. So I'm turning that on my oven or my microwave light, and I feel like this is a safe place because I don't really use my microwave except for sourdough and heating up my coffee, so I know it's safe in there. Here I'm just showing a little project I worked on. I really do not like the look of stainless steel. I know some people think it looks really nice. I don't. Also, our dishwasher is just so old and rickety. It doesn't work half the time. So I am covering it up with these curtains that I got off of Amazon. It would be nice to make my own, but I figure this is just a quick fix, and I applied some Velcro tape underneath and then the other Velcro tape on the fabric side, and I'm just quickly pinching and pleating to give kind of a more, tailored look to hiding my dishwasher, and I absolutely love this. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it, but I love it. I think it makes the kitchen look so much cuter. It's giving cottagecore, English countryside. Bye-bye dishwasher. And honestly, I do use my dishwasher every day, just about. So even though it doesn't work that well, I still rely on it. It does help, and this way I don't have to look at it. So I'm not sure if these are the best curtains for my kitchen. If you have fabric ideas that would look better here, definitely leave it down below. But for now, I just did this buffalo checked, and it's kind of like that country kitchen look. And that is how I use it. I just flip them up on the countertop and then flip it right back down. I've been using these for over a week now, and I still really love it. So if you also don't like your dishwasher, try this. Then I went to go check on the ponies and give them some leftover treats, and they're always so cute. They take little morning naps, and I love it when they lay down. I think it's a horse girl thing, but it's so cute. Anyways, came back in, the baby was up, and it was time to get started on dishes. I always have so many dishes. I unfortunately am not the clean as you go kind of person, which I think could stress a lot of people out, but it's just the way I am. I feel like I have a lot of moving parts going on the farm, and sometimes the kitchen gets a little neglected, but I just keep cooking and it just piles up so quick. So after I got everything cleaned up, this is much later in the afternoon, my dough was ready to shape. So again, this is hours later. It's been in there for a very long time, and then you can see it's about doubled in size. I've been trying to be better about not overproofing my dough because I got in a little bit of a habit of doing that. And from my experience, I think it's better to have it a little underproofed than overproofed. So I'm getting this ready to be stretched out and shaped, and you can see that my little guy is asleep in the carrier yet again. This is his second nap. So sometimes he'll take one nap on me, one nap in the crib. It just kind of depends on what's going on in that day. So while he sleeps, I can continue to get stuff done. I don't have any fancy way of shaping my bread, but sometimes I'll try something different every now and then, and I just remind myself to, have fun with it. So I do love playing with dough. It's very satisfying. It must be the inner child in me. But this is one where I just fold in each side and then roll it up and kind of do like a burrito fold, and then I just keep tucking and twisting to get it tighter on the outside. And once I feel that it's got a nice smooth surface, I will then place it in my Banneton basket and set it on my counter. Usually I'll put it on the stove while the oven preheats for about another hour, and then it's ready to bake. So I haven't seen people do like stitching on the top where they kind of fold it over and pinch it. I don't know if it's the type of flour I'm using, but I always kind of have a hard time doing that. And I'll show you when it's done. So while that was set aside to proof, I'm using some of this kitchen cleaner. This is a really great brand. They actually were really kind to gift me some cleaner when I first moved into my house, and I'm now on my third bottle of it, I think. So it's definitely worth rebuying. So either way, I'm just taking some time using my bench scraper here to actually really clean up a neglected fridge, and I just felt inspired to reorganize it because I had a minute, and I'm very happy. I rearranged the shelves, I changed the layering and the height of everything, and I think this is just a much better setup for us. I'm getting a little bit low on groceries, but man, it feels so nice to have an organized fridge. If you haven't done it in a while, I highly recommend. Just get in there and get it done. So now it's time to get my bread in the oven. This is going to be done probably a little bit late tonight, but that's okay. So because this is actually the week of Valentine's Day when I'm filming this, I decided to try a fun little design. Usually I don't have great success with scoring my bread. Even though the inside always tastes great and the flavor's great, the scoring is not my strong suit, and I'm okay with that. I don't really need it to come out perfect. I just want the inside to look good and have good texture. So I am trying something new. I'm doing a little heart, and I'll go ahead and let you know it turned out really cute. I was very happy with it, with my skills. So just gave a little freehand, hoping the dusting will make it look pretty. And I like to take my sourdough and put it in my Dutch oven. I will bake it for about 30 minutes with the lid on and 10 minutes with the lid off. This is kind of a rough estimate. Sometimes I do 35 minutes or 12 minutes, but that's the general time. So I would say close to 50 minutes is how long I like to bake my bread for with my oven. So once that came out of the oven, I was very pleased with it, and it just felt like a nice little ode to St. Valentine's Day. The spelt flour did give it a nice golden color, and it was just perfectly risen. I was so happy with this loaf and the flour ratio. I definitely think I'll be making this specific loaf again. And I was really happy with the heart. It looks like a little Valentine to me with little doily edges. And when it's actually time to eat this, much later in the evening, once it has cooled off, I like to dust all of the excess flour off because it's not really my favorite kind of flavor. So I dust that off, and it's time to cut the inside, because if you're like me, if you bake a cake or a loaf of bread or even a cookie, I want to see what the inside looks like. The tutorial is not done until I get to see the inside. So I think this would be considered a closed crumb. I'm not really totally knowledgeable on all the terms of bread making, but I can tell you that this was delicious, and I'm really glad I've stuck with my sourdough journey over the years, because it just continues to get better, and I love baking bread so much. I just love eating bread so much.
When my husband and I, high school sweethearts, when we got married.
Oh, not looking. I just thought I would share a little audio from my morning. This is the next day. I had made some granola. I usually get up around 4:30 or 5. Not really by choice, but the baby likes to wake me up pretty early. So I got some granola made and decided to have a yogurt parfait with some apple slices and honey and berries. One of my favorite things. And then later in the morning, I got started on some oatmeal cookies, because I have some family coming over tomorrow, and I wanted to have some cookies to offer them, and I've wanting to make some oatmeal cookies for a while now. So I'm just starting off with some butter here, and I don't typically use my stand mixer for a lot, but the most I'll use it for is usually pizza dough or cookies. I think the more I get into baking, the more I do find it helpful, especially because you can just add things like your sugar and butter and let that whisk away while you can get some other stuff done in the kitchen. And then I'm going in with my eggs. I don't know about you, but I will usually like to crack my eggs one at a time and then add them in, just in case. You never know. I've had sometimes I'll drop a shell and then I can't find it. So if I'm trying to be careful, then I'll do it on the outside. But with this recipe, I do sort of wish that I would have been a bit more precise, because the first time making it, I was definitely eyeballing a lot, and it did get me a little bit in trouble, as you'll see here. However, they were delicious, but I'm gonna want to try this recipe again. Let's just say that. So either way, I'm getting my wet ingredients going, my eggs, butter, sugar, and letting that all come together. And then in a separate bowl, I'm going to add in my dry ingredients, and for this I am using einkorn flour. When I'm not making sourdough, I will almost always use einkorn flour, unless maybe I'm baking for somebody else and they don't care. That's because einkorn is a lot easier on the digestive tract, being that it is an ancient grain. The gluten in it is much more digestible, so that's why I choose einkorn, and it's really what got me back into using wheat flours over a gluten-free alternative. And let me tell you, it's the best. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with gluten-free flour anymore, so I highly recommend maybe just trying some of the ancient grains and seeing if they work for you, because they really do make a difference for me. So either way, once I got my oatmeal cookies going, I decided to rinse off one of these pans. And I'm trying out my silicone baking mats. I use a lot of parchment paper, but I have these and I want to use them more often. So I'm getting going with my cookie scooper here. While those go into the oven, I get started on making a tea blend. This is a pretty popular tea called Nora tea. And Nora tea stands for nettle, oat straw, raspberry leaf, and alfalfa. I have quite a few friends who are recently having babies, and this is actually a pregnancy and postpartum tea. And I would say, even if you're trying to conceive, it might be a great tea for you to use. It is one of those mineral rich drinks you can make an infusion, so just by letting it steep in cool filtered water, or you can do a steeping hot tea, which is preferably what I like to drink. And I drink this throughout pregnancy and, again, as I mentioned, postpartum as well. So I'm just kind of replenishing my stash, and hopefully I can share this with some of my new mom friends. And yeah, I just love being able to share nourishment with people, whether it's in herbs or food for that matter. So I store mine in a big jar, and then I just put it up on my shelf, which in my kitchen I have to keep things much more focused on practical use, for as much as I love a styled kitchen. I have so many of them pinned on my Pinterest. I don't have that. I have to have things on my shelf that I'm reaching for on a daily basis. So my herbs and my teas and supplements stay on the shelf exposed to everything. And here are my oatmeal cookies. I was a little disappointed with them. I'm going to revisit this recipe because they just came out a little bit flat, and that was disappointing. However, they were delicious and they were really chewy and sweet, so it was good, but it just needs a little finessing. Decided to quickly move on and prep some of my beauty bites. I have this recipe over on my Instagram, and I've been making this since I was pregnant. I did some postpartum prep, and this was one of the recipes. They're also been called a lot of different things, like energy bites. I feel like there's a few different names. So essentially it's the same thing, but I like to call them beauty bites. I typically go for this brand. It's what I can find at my local grocery store, and you want to look in your produce section for good quality dates. Don't go to the dry fruit, look for the produce. And when you buy them pitted, it's maybe saves you like a couple dollars, but if they still have the pits, it's really easy. You just open them up, take it out, and then toss them in. If you're not familiar with mutjule dates, they're very sweet, and they should be like soft and chewy and kind of have like a caramel taste to them. I absolutely love them. And as a type 1 diabetic, you can still eat mutjule dates like this. So preparing them in this way does help with a little bit of the blood sugar spikes that sometimes you can get from fruits as a type 1 diabetic. So I'm doing a variation of my beauty bites where I'm adding in some cacao powder. I'm using some nut butter here. I'm also going to throw in a little pinch of salt, a splash of vanilla. Those things are kind of optional, but still really good. I had some leftover toasted almonds that I'm also putting in, and I like to add in some oats, and here I'm just adding in some flax seeds that I had left over. So you can really make up your own recipe as you go, which is kind of what I've done today. And I even threw in a little bit of vanilla collagen, and that was really good. Texture changed a little bit, but overall still very delicious. And I keep these on hand in my fridge, and I grab them out whenever I'm nursing, or I just get like super hungry late at night, early morning. They're just like a quick snack to grab on the go. After that, my little boy was up, and I got back to finishing up the cookies that I had, trying to get those baked and done for tomorrow, because tomorrow we have a big day. So I do baby wear in a few different wraps. I love my ring sling. He's still at an age where he doesn't reach out for stuff, so I feel like it's safe, but I am always very careful in the kitchen when I'm baby wearing him. Then it was time to get started on dinner. Here I have some einkorn flour and spices, adding it in a saucepan with a little bit of olive oil and some salt, and I'm going to be making some enchilada sauce. Now, let me go ahead and preface and say this is probably not an authentic, it is not an authentic enchilada recipe, but it's just what we do, and it's become kind of a routine recipe. So you get a thick paste going with your little roux of sorts, and then I'm just using some boxed organic chicken broth. I do love a boxed good quality broth in a pinch. And to me, good quality broth is typically labeled organic, doesn't have any dextrose or unnecessary sugar in it, and simple ingredients that can add a lot of flavor. Then I'm adding in a little bit of tomato paste, and the only thing that I did not film is once my sauce comes to a boil, I do add a splash of apple cider vinegar, and then I kind of set it aside to cool off. So either way, I've got my ingredients in there, and I'm starting off with my filling. So I'm adding in some onion and pepper, and I just was trying to get rid of some leftover vegetables in my fridge. So if you look up what an enchilada dates back to, it's really just any type of vegetable or meat filling wrapped in a corn tortilla covered in a chili sauce. So that is what we're doing today. And typically I don't add kale, but I had this beautiful dino kale that I didn't want to go bad, and I decided to throw some of that in there, and we thought it was good. No complaints. So either way, I have onion, some pepper, some dino kale, and I'm adding that into a cast iron and gonna get that sauteing. Also spicing it up with a bit of cumin and these herb salts that my mom makes. She mixes salts and herbs that we grow on the farm. It's very delicious. I'm so thankful to have that ready made. And then I like to use these pinto beans. Typically I'll get them from Azure Standard in bulk, and that definitely helps to save some money. And I just start to cook all this down, get it nice and sauteed. And sometimes another thing I do in a quick pinch is I will add in a little bit of, what is it called? Salsa. Oh my gosh, I'm tired when I'm doing this voiceover. I like to add in a little bit of salsa because it adds more flavor, a little extra onion, peppers, and spices. It's just a little flavor boost, if you will. So that's a little quick tip. If you're making something with Mexican inspired dish, then add in some salsa. Just toss it in there. Either way, I just wanted to show this clip because this is a lot of time what making meals looks like. I have a baby on my hip just trying to get it done. So either way, after that is set, I just turn it on low, turn it off. The sauce is now thickened, as you can see, and it's ready to go for assembling. Personally, I like to use store-bought corn tortillas. This brand is my absolute favorite. I buy them in bulk whenever I find them. I usually will buy the thin ones because I just think that the texture of them is superior, but this was all I could find. I prepare my little casserole dish with the enchilada sauce on the bottom, and then I add my filling, roll it up, and I just keep going with it until the entire casserole dish is filled up. So this is, a simple recipe, but it does feel very homemade because it is, There's a little bit of help here and there, but it still feels like a meal made from scratch in a lot of ways. And that's why I love it for a weeknight dinner when I'm tired, but I want something hearty. And in this case, it happens to be a vegetarian meal, but you could also add in meat if you wanted to. I never ate enchiladas growing up because I was a very, very picky eater, and we can unpack that a different day. But I just didn't really have any interest in them, and my husband kept asking me to make them. So this past summer, I tried it out, and I thought, wow, this is actually very delicious. And now it's become a regular in our house. So if you don't grate your own cheese, let this be your sign. You gotta grate your own cheese. Don't buy the pre-shredded stuff. It's not good. So that goes into the oven, and I let it bake until the cheese is nice and melty. At this point, my blood sugars are 110. I'm pretty happy with that number, considering the day that I had, and making some oatmeal cookies that I probably snacked on one too many. And I take my casserole of my enchiladas out of the oven. I don't think it's really a casserole, but the pan itself is a casserole dish. You know what I'm saying. This looks delicious. It tasted absolutely spectacular. So hearty and good. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in today's video. I hope you stick around for more. I'm really hoping to keep sharing some similar content like this with you in the future. Comment down below if there's anything specific you'd like to see from me. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.